Before we descend further into the hidden architecture of the old craft, you must understand one truth. Some knowledge was never meant to be spoken in daylight. There are fragments of history that exist between the lines of recorded time. Threads woven so subtly into human memory that most will never notice them. Threads carried not by scholars, not by kings, but by those who lived in quiet defiance of the world's growing noise. What you are about to witness is not merely tradition. It is the residue of a worldview forged under pressure, shaped in darkness, and preserved by minds that understood the weight of silence. Here, wisdom doesn't come wrapped in doctrine. It emerges from instinct, symbol, and the raw pulse of human intuition. Ritual is not performance, belief is not decoration, and survival is an art practiced by those who knew that truth becomes its sharpest when it is forced. Underground, because what survived in the shadows was never merely a tradition. It was a philosophy forged under centuries of pressure. A pressure that did not crush it, but refined it into a sharper, more resilient form. Those who preserved these ways did not simply inherit knowledge. They inherited a responsibility to protect, a worldview that refused to bow to the rigid architecture of the rising modern order. The further we go, the more it becomes clear this hidden craft is not a remnant of the past. It is an indictment of every system that tried to replace intuition with doctrine and curiosity with obedience. When the world turned its back on ancestral wisdom, the practitioners did not resist openly. Open defiance would have ended them. Instead, they evolved quietly, subtly, strategically. They dissolved into the cracks of society like water seeking new pathways. Their teachings slipped into lullabies. Their codes hid in everyday symbols. Their rituals disguised themselves as customs. Their philosophy as superstition. Their identity as anonymity. This transformation was not accidental. It was tactical, because they understood a truth the world often forgets. Power survives not by force, but by adaptability. And the old craft adapted with the precision of a living organism. At the heart of this transformation was a discipline so intellectually complex that even scholars today struggle to decode it. It was a discipline rooted in the idea that reality is not a static structure, but a fluid interaction between the inner world and the outer field. To them, ritual was not an act of worship. It was a method of aligning intention with outcome. A sigil was not decoration. It was a geometrical compression of meaning. A chant was not superstition. It was a vibration engineered to break the noise inside the mind. These practitioners understood psychological mechanics long before psychology existed. They recognized that human consciousness is not a passive observer, but an active participant in shaping experience. Every fear confronted in ritual was a rehearsal for real danger. Every symbol memorized. Was a blueprint for decision-making. Every invocation whispered beneath the moon was a confrontation with aspects of the self modern society teaches people to suppress. Their rituals were silent laboratories of the human condition, remained intact among those who understood its true function. They knew that a tradition only survives if its essence lives, even when its outer shape changes. So they transmitted essence, not appearance. They preserved philosophy, not costume. They guarded meaning, not theatrics. And this made their knowledge nearly impossible to erase. Sound shifts, gentle but eerie wind entering through cracked stone. As we journey deeper, a crucial detail emerges. These practitioners were not mystics lost in fantasy. They were observers, relentless observers of natural patterns, human behavior, and the unseen dynamics that flow between both. Where modern society saw coincidence, they saw alignment. Where others saw misfortune, they saw imbalance. Where people sought divine punishment, they saw psychological consequence. Key, they understood the world as an interlocking web of forces, each action tugging on another, each intention shaping the next. And perhaps this is why the world feared them. Because the craft did not revolve around dependency on a deity or a hierarchy. It revolved around self-governance, inner sovereignty, personal responsibility for the energies one releases into the world. A worldview like this is dangerous, not because it manipulates the world, but because it frees people from manipulation. One of the most profound aspects of this hidden craft was its understanding of duality. Not duality as good versus evil, but duality as balance. Darkness was not feared. It was recognized as half of existence. Light was not worshipped. It was respected as the other half. These practitioners embraced a truth that made mainstream ideologies uncomfortable. Nothing in nature exists in isolation. Everything is part of an equation. Life and decay, creation and dissolution, fear and courage, reflection and action. This understanding allowed them to navigate life with a clarity many modern minds never achieve. To them, the world was not a battlefield of moral extremes, but a mechanism of harmony, disrupted only when humans refused to understand their place within it. But the world outside kept changing. Industrial revolutions reshaped landscapes. Religions tightened their boundaries. Governments expanded control. Science claimed authority over the intangible. And in this storm of change, the old craft faced its greatest threat. Not persecution, not accusation, but irrelevance. For when a society forgets how to listen to the earth, how to read symbols, how to understand silence, it forgets how to interpret the very knowledge that once sustained it. This is when the craft could have died. But instead, it resurfaced, not as it once was, but as something transformed by time, strengthened by secrecy, and sharpened by survival. Those who preserved fragments began to piece them together. Those who inherited whispers began to question their origins. Those who felt an unnamed pull toward the old ways began seeking answers, and the craft responded. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with the same subtle persistence that had carried it through centuries. What we see today is not a rebirth, it is an emergence, a slow rising of a tradition that never died, only adapted. Its symbols appear in modern cultures without context. Its rituals resurface in psychological techniques. Its philosophies echo in spiritual movements. Its core ideas quietly infiltrate conversations about intuition, nature, energy, and the unseen. Because the truth is undeniable. A worldview based on experience, introspection, and connection cannot be eradicated. It lies dormant until a new generation discovers its relevance. And now, that generation is searching. Some seek healing beyond medicine. Some seek meaning beyond dogma. Some seek identity beyond labels. Some seek silence in a world that never stops screaming. These seekers unknowingly walk the same path the old practitioners once guarded. Path not of superstition, but of understanding. A path not of darkness, but of depth. A path not of rebellion, but of remembrance. And as we stand here, between the fractures of history and the pulse of the present, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The old craft never waited for permission to survive. It survived because it was necessary. It survived because it filled a void modern intellect could not. It survived because humans, no matter the age, still hunger for connection with forces larger than themselves. This journey is far from complete. There are older echoes to uncover, darker corners to illuminate, and deeper layers of the hidden craft that still pulse beneath the surface. And we are only beginning to understand what it truly protected.